Death in anime usually is the most impactful thing that can happen in a series, changing the series direction and impacting the characters and the audience watching. Today, I'm going to be talking about the death of Kamina and how it changed Gurren Lagann. The first time we see Kamina, he steals the show was personality alone. Kamina is very outgoing and reckless, and this theme plays when he first talks is very fast paced, implying to us he's going to be a very reckless and free spirited person. And we are seeing that right away. He is those two characteristics. While he tries to convince Simon to break out the underground to go to the surface, and they both get in trouble for it. And when the giant mech falls into Jiha village, Kamina is the only person willing to fight this mech by himself with just a sword. This mech being 10 times their size, by the way, and made out of pure steel. Kamina looks it in his face and says, "I'm the leader of Team Gurren, and I'll be the one to defeat you." With his confidence alone, I actually kind of believe that Kamina would be able to defeat this mech by himself. Kamina was a natural born leader to the point where he was good at giving orders in battle, and he was also good at telling the strengths of his team, but he did have some weaknesses. But he had people like Simon who balanced him out. Simon being a person who was level-headed to make sure that Kamina didn't do reckless things because that was just a part of his personality. Both of them worked really well together, and Kamina knew that Simon was the main key to Team Gurren, and he was the hope for the future. That's why Kamina pushed Simon so much and made sure that he believed in himself, because Simon all he needed was confidence in himself and to not be seen as Kamina's lesser. I believe Kamina knew that he wasn't supposed to be the leader of Team Gurren. Even though his team thought that he was, I think he knew that Simon was supposed to be the leader. Kamina knew that he wasn't the leader for Team Gurren, even though most of the cast thought that he was. He knew that Simon was a leader. That's why he always pushed him and told him to believe in himself, because Simon had two things. He had an untapped potential, and he had a Gundam that only he could pilot, and his Gundam was able to take control of other mechs, and they needed Simon for a big mission to take a new base for Team Gurren. Simon has a whole lot of pressure going into this fight, especially being the key piece, but we see him witness his first heartbreak as he sees Yoko and Kamina kiss in front of his eyes, and him liking Yoko, it really messed him up, as the image constantly plays in his head during the fight, and he is not able to take over the ship. Kamina steps in and gives Simon the confidence that he needs. Unfortunately, since Kamina wasn't paying attention to the battle, he gets heavily hurt, but he pushes through it, and him and Simon do one big attack to win the war. Unfortunately, since Kamina took so much damage, he passes away in the midst of battle. Kamina says his goodbyes to Simon as the episode fades into silence and Team Gurren loses their leader, and the group will never be the same without Kamina. With Kamina gone, the whole dynamic of Team Gurren is completely different now, as Simon falls into delirium as he actually wants to become Kamina, and he starts lashing out on his teammates, and people will start to lose faith in Simon to take over the team. Simon snaps out of his delirium through a combination of wanting to help Nia and rescue his crew. The crew sees what Kamina saw all along, a man paving the way to freedom. Simon has been the key all along. From that point forward, the old Simon disappeared and a new Simon emerged. Simon realized he could never be like Kamina, and he became his own person, Simon the Digger. In a time skip, we see more of Kamina's influence physically and metaphorically. Physically, Kamina gets a city named after him and a giant statue inside that city, showing that the audience he will never be forgotten. Metaphorically, we see it in two different ways. The first way we see it is through Simon and how he wants to go back to the traditional way of how Team Gurren was, and how they were more lackadaisical and more just rushing into battle. But Rossiu wants to be more of a government and be more sophisticated in their actions. And Rossiu and Simon clash, with Simon having to go to jail and Rossiu losing a lot of respect from older Team Gurren members, since they also want to go back to the way that it was before when Kamina was in charge. There's a scene where Rossiu is going to do the unthinkable and take his own life, and Simon comes last second to save him. In that scene, we see a glimpse of Kamina through Simon. Even though I said that Simon is his own person, we see a lot of glimpses of where Kamina is in his personality, showing that Kamina highly influenced Simon when they were younger. Simon's character has come a long way, as he's more lax and he kind of lost the will for fighting, and he's trying to find that fire again, and he's way more headstrong and he knows what he wants. Simon gets the willpower to fight again thanks to Viral, as they have a big fight in prison, and Simon gets it back during the perfect time as the anti-Spiral, a world level threat, is about to destroy the world, and they need their leader Simon back on the battlefield. In the final battle to save Nia, Kamina and Simon have one last moment where Kamina reminds Simon that his drill is his soul and that Kamina and his fallen comrades live through Simon and that his drill will be the one that will pierce the heavens and he is the only one that could do that. Even in the afterlife, Kamina was still influencing Simon and making sure that he knew that he was the one who could do this job and only him. When Simon gets back to the battle, he acts like a completely different person. The more you watch him during the fight against the anti-spiral, the more he acts like Kamina with the bravado of Kamina, but at the same time, he's himself with his level-headedness, making the perfect combination of the two. Kamina knew the whole time that Simon was the key all along to defeat anybody, and Simon proves us right while he is the one who defeats the anti-spiral. Simon beat the odds with the help of Kamina and of course with his team. Team Gurren was a place where these regular humans beat the odds over and over again, coming from the underground and making their way to the surface, beating Beastmen, the Spiral King, and then going all the way to fighting the Anti-Spiral, and they beat everything that went in their way. Kamina was the one who started this team, and he will be so proud to see what they became. I think Kamina was a very simple man. I think all he really wanted was to not be put in a box. He just wanted to be free, and he took the huge gamble of making his way from the underground and going out to the surface. He didn't really know what was out there that much because when he was a kid, he went to the surface with his dad and he was too scared and he had to go back underground, and his dad promised for him to meet him again, and we all know what happens. His dad dies, unfortunately. I think that gave Kamina the motivation and the courage to actually come out to the surface, knowing that it's so dangerous in the top, but he wanted to push his limits. Every fight that he got into, I think he knew that he might have died, but he was ready to take that chance just to bring his team with him and to push the limits to the furthest. Kamina was just a natural born leader and had a very explosive personality. It doesn't matter if you met him or not, or if you didn't, you cannot forget who Kamina was. From friends to foes, it didn't really matter. Nia never met Kamina, and she gained so much respect for him just from the stories that Simon told. And Vero had so much respect for Kamina even though they were enemies and they wanted to kill each other. Vero was so shocked when Simon said that Kamina died that he couldn't even believe it. He was looking for another tough battle, and also Kamina definitely motivated Vero. If you guys like this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and tell me how you guys feel about Kamina. Peace.